ELI5 Where does gravity get the energy to attract objects together? You can think of gravity as attraction, but it is actually the result of the curvature of time-space-time 4 dimensions. Anything with mass will slightly curve space-time. The resulting curve creates potential energy as the objects will fall towards the gravity source. The force of gravity, the gravitational constant x mass 1 x mass 2, distance between the two masses 2. Edit. Look up a visual representation of Lagrange points on YouTube for a neat representation of curvature. Gravity doesn't speed things up, it slows them down. Everything in the universe would like to move at the speed of causality c, but mass slows things down. The more mass it has, the more drag created. Things with no mass, a photon for instance, just go at the default speed. The Earth isn't pulling you down to it. It's your fault for having mass. If you didn't have mass, the gravity of the Earth would leave you alone. Imagine you're going through a straight line in space. A massive body like a planet curves space-time itself. The straight line you're following will then be curved towards that massive body. The curvature depends on the mass of the object and your distance to it. Like those classic demonstrations of a ball in the middle of a fabric. To escape this straight line, that's when you have to exert energy to roll outward. A lot of answers explaining how gravity works. Where the energy actually comes from, we don't actually know. Scientists don't really know what gravity is besides an attractive force. They haven't been able to find a particle for gravity, the graviton, yet. Some people think it could be a result of quantum mechanics along with time, but there isn't enough evidence to really prove that yet either. Have you ever seen the balls on an elastic sheet example? Mass distorts space-time. Earth is not orbiting the Sun because there is some energy. Earth is actually going in a straight line. But this line is curved because there is a supermassive object nearby the Sun. The mass itself curves space-time. No need for any intermediary energy or carrying particle. They release the energy they stored when pulled apart, as if they were connected with a spring. In modern physics, the reason is that everything deforms the space around it as if it were an elastic sheet. Two objects tend to fall to each other due to the deformation of space, as two objects would slide to each other on a sheet deformed by their weight. Picture two bowling balls on a large trampoline. The curvature of the trampoline causes the bowling balls to fall toward each other. From my understanding, things fall because the mass of objects curves space-time. Other objects will follow this curve because of its own mass. So the energy is actually mass. This is the plot of Interstellar. We don't really know how gravity works. We can only describe its effects to varying levels of complexity. A good ELI5 description is to imagine a bowling ball in the center of a trampoline. This is sort of how gravity warps space-time to attract other objects. So a long time ago there was a really big explosion, like really big, even bigger than you're thinking, and it threw everything into motion. And even though 14 billion years have passed and we're at least 46 billion light years away by now, we're all still flying away from that blast. As a bubble goes up in a liquid, think of gravity as a property of objects in a medium. The bubble is less dense than the medium, so it ascends with no apparent force applied. Objects behave approaching each other in the medium, called space-time, with no apparent force applied. I can't exactly tell you, but I once saw a video of some guy putting a bowling ball over a piece of fabric and another ball rolling around it, and he sounded really smart, so something to that effect. I will recommend this video. The explanation isn't perfect, but it's a very good explanation of gravity and space-time and all that Einstein stuff no one knows. This is one of the top mysteries of physics. It's called action at a distance. We've never witnessed what's going on between two objects with gravitational pull.